my name's Karl. I'm a local chef and I work in Surly's Delicatessen and Restaurant in Spalding. Now today we're going to cook a spicy pork rissole made from leftover pork and some seasoning, some spices and bits and bobs. This recipe can be downloaded from the website, so if you'd like to download the recipe and then you can get ready to cook with me. Right, the ingredients for today's recipe are around about a pound of leftover pork, roast pork that is, or any kind of cooked pork I suppose. You could also use up leftover chicken, so either or, chicken or pork. Can't use up leftover red meats, mainly the white meats. 1 red pepper, deseeded and finely sliced, 2 cloves of garlic, 60 to 80 grams of breadcrumbs, 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried chilli flakes, depending on how hot you like it. You do need a bit because it gets a bit of a kick. It is a spicy pork rissole. 1 large egg, 2 onions, 1 sliced, 1 diced, a teaspoon of ground coriander, 1.5 teaspoons of sweet paprika, around about half bottle of red wine, a tablespoon of tomato puree, a tablespoon of tomato ketchup, and some vegetable stock just to loosen up the sauce, which we're making later. To serve is optional, but some plain boiled rice that you might have left from another dish you've overcooked, you made too much rice. You can use up some of that, so serve with some rice. Okay, right, we'll get started, we'll get ready and we'll get cooking, make these lovely little rissoles. Okay, first things first, we'll peel the onions. Remember, take off as little as you can when you're peeling them. The more onion you take off when you're peeling, the more you're putting in the bin and back on the compost heap. That's a good thing. If you've got a compost heap, all these veg peelings, all these sort of things, keep them, put them straight on your compost heap. You can't put cooked things on your compost heap, but anything raw. So nothing gets wasted. It all goes back into the production of your vegetables for next year. Almost done. That's those 2 peeled. And they go into my little bucket for later. Take home, put in the compost heap. Garlic cloves, pop them up, peel them. Remember, if there's more than half a bottle of wine left, do feel free to pour yourself a glass and save the other half for the cooking. It always makes cooking go down well. A little bit of help from the old vino. Got those peeled. Okay. We'll just move our white out of the way for a moment, and our red wine over there. So we're gonna get our pork in a minute, and we're gonna chop that up in a little food blender. I mean, I've got a little one here. You can use bigger ones or smaller ones, but whatever you've got at home, just use that. Put those there. So we've got our roast pork. Take a nice chunk of that. Put that piece to one side for later. Okay, and just before you put it in the machine, you need to help the machine. So give it a little chop yourself, just to get it into smaller dice, so that the machine can then cope with the chopping. If you've only got a little machine like mine, don't pile it all in at once. Do a little bit at a time. Get the lid on and give it a good blitz. Turn the power on helps. Now you can see that, it's nice and finely minced now. And the reason we do a little bit at a time in the machine is that way it works much quicker. If I put that all in one go, the machine would struggle and it wouldn't get such nice fine dice. We've got a bowl for mixing. And then take that out, put that in there. Get the next batch of pork in. There. And there. Lid back on. And again another blitz. Okay, that's that. That's our pork all nicely minced up now. I mean, if you've got one of them old-fashioned hand mincers at home, you could use that, or a little mincer attachment. But that's the sort of product you get once you put it through there. It's a homemade rustic dish, and it's all about family home cooking, so there's a couple of big lumps of pork in there. Doesn't matter. Okay, and because it's a blitz up recipe, we get a nice piece of onion. Remove the core, which is this piece here. I'm going to cut that out. Just do it at an angle so you get like a small slice there. And the least amount of onion to waste as possible. Leave that to one side. Get an onion, just break it up in small parts and pop that in there. One of our cloves of garlic in there as well. We'll save the others for later when we come to make our sauce. Go with our rissoles. Okay, one there. And we're going to blitz that as well. Okay, so that's those blitzed up. I mean, you can sit down and chop the onions fine if you want, but as you can see, they really have chopped them up finely, just how you want them. In there. Get your hand in and get all the onion out. And now we'll add some of our ingredients to make our rissoles spicy. So first we've got our teaspoon. So we've got 1 to 2 teaspoons of chopped chili flakes. I'll use just 1. Okay, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander. Sprinkle that in as well. Around about 1.5 teaspoons of the sweet paprika. Make sure it is a sweet and not the hot, otherwise you're going to have chili flakes and hot paprika. It's going to blow the roof of your head off when you eat your chips. Okay, so we've got those. And then going to add some breadcrumbs as well. Yeah, these are just to help to bind and give it some rigidity. Whole egg. And we're going to give that a nice mix in now. You can use a wooden spoon to start with, but you will have to get in there in a minute and get your hands in there and start to blend it together. Because we're getting the mixing now, but we're not getting the setting. Okay, a bit of salt and pepper. Excellent. A little bit of salt. Remember, this is roast pork, and if you've got crackling left, that can quite happily go in. Make sure that you check the taste of it again, because obviously the crackling you probably put salt on. We'll have enough salt in there perhaps already. So we've got thus far. Just get your hand in it, really, squeeze it together. Does it set? Is it going to work? Are you going to get your rissoles out of it? Try and make a little ball, and then hold the ball in your hand and say, is it going to sit? Well, it is. So we know we've got that right. So we'll now set that in the fridge for a couple of minutes, just to chill down and get the sauce on the go, and then we'll come back and make the rissoles, and we'll fry them off with the sauce. Right, okay, so now we're going to make our sauce. We've got our pan turned on to high, get some oil cooking. And there. I'm going to get an onion, cut through the core, remove the core, because this time we're going to slice it rather than dicing it. So we want the core out of the way straight away. Okay, get your knife and just slice straight down. Bear in mind, I've been doing this for 30 odd years. You don't have to go this fast. Otherwise your onions turn red and it's not a nice sight. Okay, so the onions are sliced. Pan's reasonably hot already. Get the first one straight in. And while they're sweating off, we get our red pepper, cut in half. I mean, you can have this prepared already beforehand before you start frying if you wish, if you're not as fast as I am. Okay, remove your seeds. Again, they're good for the compost heap, so keep all these things for all these jobs. Slice them into fingers. So there, same with this one, slice it into little fingers. Give the onions a little toss while you're waiting. Okay. And then come across, dice the red pepper. To one side. Dice the other bit of it. Okay. Remember, this is home cooking, it's not gourmet cooking, so if they're not all perfectly square, it doesn't matter, they'll taste the same. Those in, toss them about, frying them off, splash the garlic, chop the garlic away there. Add our garlic. This is a lovely dish. Lovely, nice chunky sauce. Onions, the garlic. We do need to season the sauce, so my old friends pepper and salt again. And we've got our tomato ketchup here, which adds a little bit of sweetness to the sauce. And obviously tomatiness. And this tomato puree will add some more tomatiness to it as well. So, as I say, we've got the onions and the garlic and the peppers frying off now. Now we're going to get our ketchup, which will add a bit of sweetness. And it'll also add some nice tomato colour and flavour to the dish, along with the tomato puree. Okay, so in goes the tomato ketchup. And again, about 2 tablespoons of tomato puree. So there we go. Give it a little stir around, cook around. Remember, there's a lot of sugar in that ketchup, so don't let it stir for too long because the sugar will caramelise and it will start to catch. And you'll get the nice aroma now as well coming out. Then we get our 300 ml of red wine. Put that in. And voila. Add that. That sauce is now going to reduce and boil away. We've also got some vegetable stock we've made earlier. I'm going to add a bit of that as well. Again, if you can't make your vegetable stock, there are good bouillons on the market, so you can buy a vegetable stock cube and use that instead. Okay, and now we're just going to let that reduce right down till it becomes shiny and thick. And you've got the nice chunky bits in there, the richness and the shininess of the sauce. We'll let that bubble away now for about 10 to 15 minutes until it reduces. And now while that's happening, we'll get our pork mixture out and we'll make our little rissoles and fry them off and get them into the oven. Now, there's a pork mixture we made earlier, and it's quite crumbly at the moment. When you give it a good squeeze, you can make your little rissoles. And it's something fun you can do with the kids as well, because it's a bit of fun. We can call them burgers, call them rissoles, if they like that sort of thing. Help mum, help dad, get joined in, it'll be a lot of fun. Also, if it's for the kids, you maybe want you to omit the chilli. It's up to you. If they like spicy food, great. If not, omit the chilli. The dish will be just as nice. Okay, so we get a little frying pan here. Put that on there. Turn it on to high. And we're going to make some little rissoles. We'll put a little bit of oil in the pan. And this pound of pork recipe should make enough for a family of 4 quite easily. So get over a little bit of your mixture. Just squeeze it together in your hand until you make a little... It's a little burger. That's it. Simple as that. And let our pan get a little bit hot. Put that there for a minute. Do a couple more. I would do 2 or 3 a person, depending. If they're little peoples, maybe 2. If it's dad like me, maybe 4. And mum, if you're on a diet, maybe 1 then. But it's lean roast pork this, so there's not too much fat in there. Okay. And again, it's not You know, there's not a need to make these a perfect shape. It's home cooking. Frying pan on the go. Hot oil, little rissoles. And sometimes you'll find when you're cooking these, they might break up in the pan a little bit. Doesn't really matter. It's still going to taste the same. As soon as you touch them with your knife and fork, they're going to break up anyway. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Meanwhile, they're in the pan frying. You've got your leftover rice that's from another night before. If not, cook some fresh rice. And we're going to, if it's leftover rice, you can reheat in the microwave, which is what we're going to do. And we'll put that on the plate. When our rissoles are cooked, we'll put the rissoles around the plate on top of the rice. Spin a few layers of sauce over. And there's Bob's your uncle, there's our lovely dish. So we'll get that heated up in a minute. And we'll just get these fried now. And obviously the other reason, when we actually come to fry these, the egg that we put into them will start to hold them together. So they won't fall apart too much. Give your sauce a little stir every now and then. And as you can see at the moment, the sauce is quite runny. That's because we want to intensify all the flavours by reducing those right down, so that a lot of the liquid is gone. And the flavour is deep and strong. And I've got a little fork just to taste it. Lovely. So, just a little bit of colour on these because they are going to go through the oven again in a minute. Just to finish cooking in the middle. And as you can see, sometimes they do break. That one's broken. It doesn't matter. It'll be fine. Right. Have yourself a little roasting tray. Unless you've got a pan that can go in the oven, then this pan can go straight in the oven. In our case, we've got a plastic handle, so we can't. So we've got the colour on that we want. Put them onto there. Onto there. Right, onto there. Okay. Pan out of the way. Then literally just pop those in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes, just to finish cooking. Make sure they're very hot in the middle. It's important to make sure they're very hot in the middle. Okay, right, now we're now ready to serve our pork rissoles with our spicy sauce and the rice. Now we've already pre-warmed the rice up in the microwave, which is just there, nice and lovely. Okay, so we're going to put that on the plate first, and we'll get our rissoles out the oven as well. Put our rissoles on there. Off there we get our rice. Our lovely warm rice. Put that in the middle of the plate. Okay, or maybe actually put it this side. Okay, so there's our nice rice. Got our little fish slice, get our rissoles. Rissole number 1, rissole number 2, and rissole number 3. There we go. Same when I'm washing up, use the same sauce, same spoon from the sauce. Okay, now if you look at this sauce now, it really is thick, rich, and shiny. Just what we want. Okay, get some of that, and just put that in between the two. There we go. And there we have a simple leftover use up that looks quite pretty, quite tasty. Now, a little tip for serving with this, you can serve maybe a dollop of sour cream on top of there, with a few sprinklings of coriander perhaps, fresh coriander, or you can just simply serve it as it is. Spicy pork rissoles, rice, and a sweet and sour sauce. Remember, you can download all these recipes and more from the website, and happy cooking.